it is my pleasure to introduce John Allan. So if we can spotlight John. John is one of our community bio fellows and is based in the UK. And John has really been the one shepherding this very special session that we're about to have right now, or this moment. I guess it's an experience. Really, it's an experience. I think that's probably a better way to frame it, right, John? But I'll turn it over to you. So everybody, can we give some snaps and some love to John Allan, everybody? John, go for it.
Hi everyone. Thanks David. Yeah, I hope you're all ready to laugh because we're going to turn this Zoom room into a comedy club, I think. Next we've got Steve Cross, and he's an incredible science communicator that uses comedy as a medium to talk about science. I first heard of Steve when I was involved in the Bright Club when I was a fresh-faced iGEM student, and I did a Bright Club to talk about experiences in iGEMA. The Bright Club, if you've never heard of it, is an international network of comedy nights where all of the comedians are actually academics and scientists and things that are telling jokes about their daily lives. That's what Steve does. He sort of has loads of projects involved in teaching academics and other people that aren't normally involved in comedy how to make comedy part of their work in their lives. So yeah, without further ado, I'll hand it over to the incredible Steve Cross. Thank you.
That's what I need to do. Hello, everybody. Hello. My name's Steve. I've got a thing that says, hello, I'm Steve. I'm going to try and make it go away because now I put it there thinking, oh, clever. Oh, that's very good. Oh, no, I'm Steve. But now I'm embarrassed about it. Hello. It's very nice to be here with all of you. We were asked to bring an object that captures the essence of us. I would say I know many of you, the time zone is that it's the morning. I'm in the UK. The time zone here is late afternoon, and I have twin babies. So the time zone is I've been up for about 76 hours, and therefore I'm allowed to drink. I'm a freelancer, and I'm a freelancer that does comedy gigs and events for a living, which means that for the last 4,000 years since COVID arrived, I have been stuck at home. And so like my rules of drinking have got, because it used to be that you never drink before dinner, right? You drink after dinner. And then as lockdown started to get tighter, I went down to, well, you can have a drink in the afternoon, just one, and then drink after dinner. And then it became a beer with lunch is fine. And then eventually it became, well, when they're open, pubs in the UK are allowed to open at 11 a.m. So that is officially the beginning of the drinking time. So it's grown-up time here. So I'm having a few drinks. It's very exciting to be with you all. So I should say, first of all, that I am a failed scientist, and not just that, a failed bioscientist. Like, I have a PhD in human genetics. I mean, when I say I have a PhD in the sense that somebody who ran a marathon in 9 hours, 47 minutes, collapsed as they crossed the line, had to go to hospital and stayed in hospital for 9 months, technically finished a marathon. I have a PhD in that sense. I was very bad at this. You'll all know this. This is the thing you do. You do it over and over again. And then 6 months later, you realized you did it wrong. And that was my life while I did my PhD. So I thought I'd better pack all of that in. When I went into my PhD Viva, I was so bad. I gave the closest thing you can do to a no comment Viva, where you just sit there and go, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And after like 3 hours, your external examiner is so desperate for a wee that the only way they can leave the room is to make a decision on whether you pass or not. And you've not given them enough to fail you. So what they do is they give you major corrections. And just to clarify, major corrections means, can you write in my friend's bullshit theory that is really important, that will be disproved completely 1 month after you submit your major corrections? Yes, that is what I had to do. I wrote a whole section. They said, your introduction is, it's like 1.5 years out of date. I said, yes, I wrote it 1.5 years ago because I have a proper job. So after I did, sorry to people doing, major corrections is I like to think of it as the drinker's PhD. I think if you get no corrections, then you've done too much work. Like, the whole point of an external examiner on a PhD is that they proofread it for you. You want them to put in 200 little notes of where you've used a semicolon wrong, and then you fix it. And that distracts them from how terrible your science is. What am I here for? I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be doing something else. I'm supposed to be talking about science communication. I am the oldest science communicator in the world because everybody else gets into science communication, and then 10 years after they do, they realize that there's no career in it. and they have to go and do something else. So they've burned out of science, like out of science, but and then they go, I'll do science communication, and 10 years later they're still earning, well, I don't want to say numbers because they're so small. Some of you will cry. Some of you won't know maths small enough to understand how much money a science communicator makes. So they go and do other things. Whereas I've been in science communication forever because apparently I don't like money. I don't like, anyway. So I have a PhD in human genetics. That's very important. And after that, I went to work in a kids and families science center called the Center for Life in Newcastle. I was in charge of exhibitions and family events and adult events. And one of my jobs was to write science shows to explain DNA to 7-year-olds. Quick bit of advice, you can't really. They're barely aware of what living things are. It's really difficult to be like, and the DNA replicates, moves up the fork of the, and that was apparently my job. So I stopped doing that. So I failed at that. So I'm a failed scientist, failed science educator. Then I went to work in a gallery. I worked for a museum, and the museum I worked for was all about how science is old, but it's also new, and medicine is old, but it's also new. And I had to do lots of the weird stuff that you did, and like buy paintings, and that was very exciting, and come up with bullshit philosophical justifications for putting on display extremely offensive objects like mummified Peruvian monks who did not crawl up that hill in order to be stuck in a glass box in North London. But I had to do that sort of thing because that's the job. And so I did that for a while, and then I failed at that because it turns out the main thing you need to be in a museum is the skill of kissing up to the director of a museum. And it's not a skill I've got. I've only got the like communicating science and putting together exhibitions and all that, all the public stuff. Public stuff doesn't matter. The real stuff that matters is, do you kiss up to the director of the museum? So I got fired. Well, I didn't get fired. I left under discussion. And so then I went to work for a university. I was head of public engagement at UCL. That's the University of Central London, for those of you who've never been there. The University of Central London is like quite prestigious. So it goes like Oxford, Cambridge, some, University of Central London, the rest. And I was there for 7.5 years. But then, like this group, I had people from all over the world emailing me saying, Steve, can you help us with our public engagement? And I said, no, because I've got to do this thing. I've got to cut my budget for 2% for the next year. So I quit, and now I'm freelance. Those of you who are correcting me to University College London, no, it's the University of Central London, because one of my friends said it was once, and I thought it was much funnier than the real thing. Those of you who are saying this sounds like the TLDR of midlife crisis, it's not TLDR. I've got a whole half hour to do this, right? I make my living doing public comedy shows. There haven't been any public comedy shows. I'm literally in my shed. This is where middle-aged fathers of two go to go insane. Like the kids are being looked after. They're out there. I'm locked in here. It's daytime. I've closed the curtains. I've put the lights on. There's no TLDR. You're getting the full midlife crisis all the way through. So what am I doing? Yeah. So I was at UCL, and then I stopped that, and then I went freelance. So now I'm freelance, and some of my things are very serious. For instance, I am the public engagement trainer of the Royal Society. So the Royal Society, for those of you who don't know, is the most up its own arse thing that British science has. It's a collection of people who nearly won Nobel Prizes but didn't. Some of them did, but most of them didn't, and they resent the ones who did. And I do their public engagement training. I do public engagement training for very prestigious universities and research institutes. So I write public engagement strategies. I'm very serious. But the problem with a lot of this is that what you're asked to do is come up with things that sound like you're communicating science to people, but usually you're not. Because I'll give you a quick history lesson about the UK. So back in the 1980s in the UK, we used to have a thing called science communication. And science communication is basically a bunch of scientists and some more attractive people that they've paid saying, well, the interesting thing about DNA is that the fourth turn of the, I'm doing it on telly. And then back in 1990, we did this big review and realized that none of this worked. And it was just noise that scientists were making, hoping that another scientist were watching the TV show it was on. So then it got changed, and we came up with this thing called public understanding of science, where the basic thing was, it's all very well communicating science, but people have to understand it. So then we shifted to, like, atoms are like snooker balls coming together and they knock across, and that is Brownian motion. And the problem with that was that no one would tune in to watch it, because if this is the 1990s, remember when this happens? So Friends exists. Why would you put on a scientist patiently explaining something when you can watch Friends? So in 2000, we had this big review, and we said, we've got to actually come up with something that people give a damn about. So we're going to have this thing called public engagement with science. Pardon me, I have a cough. It's not COVID. It's because my kids went back to nursery, and they then picked up every single other illness. But now I can't go out the house because I cough, and people look at me and they go, is it COVID? And I'm like, actually, I had COVID in March when it was cool. Like, COVID is done. It's over. Cool people with glasses like this don't catch COVID anymore. Right. Where was I? Right. So public engagement science. So we came out with public engagement science. And then what we said was, we're going to do all these super public things that members of the public will come to, and they'll care because we'll put loads of work into it. But then what happened was this. So this is from a survey called Public Attitudes to Science, which everyone in the UK ought to read because it really shows you what we're doing. So 2014, at this point, we've done 14 years of public engagement. And it turns out that almost nobody is coming to most of the stuff we do, because this public engagement scientists want to do is the public engagement that is easiest for them to do. It's the stuff like they did. Like, everybody wants to go and do schools outreach because we remember being taught science at schools. Nobody wants to connect with everybody else. They just want to do lectures. So part of the challenge now is, how do we move beyond that? How do we do public engagement that isn't just for more scientists? Because we know that in the UK, 13% of people, and they are disproportionately 52-year-old white men called Simon with a science degree. Like, there's more people called with that. I've forgotten what I was saying. Oh wait, I'll have another sip of whiskey. I'll come back. Just a reminder, it's late afternoon in the UK, so this is totally legit. If any of you want to ask me any questions, ask me questions. I might answer them. I might not. I don't know. So the big challenge is now, right? So we've got hardly any science communicators because it pays no money, but we got loads of scientists. Good. The scientists just want to do the same old boring thing they've always done, but no one comes to it. By the way, my hands are filthy because I've been fixing my bike this afternoon because in lockdown, I've become a bike genius. And so the other thing was, so we've got this. So what do we do? So what I do now, what I dedicate my life to is I work with researchers of all kinds. I don't just do scientists because you need some balance in your life. You need to meet some people with social skills as well as scientists. And I make them fun and interesting so that they can then connect with other people. And I do gigs, and some of my gigs are quite little. Here's me, as if you didn't know what I look like. Here I am at a small gig. And some of my gigs are very big. This is Alex Lathbridge, who is a now what is he? It's really clever. Computational biochemist. He's a PhD student in computational biochemistry at the University of Bath. Here he is on stage in front of 700 people at a music festival, at a gig that I ran. What you can't see is all the seats are full, all the grass between the seats is full, all the entrances are blocked, and some of my friends couldn't get in to see how good my stuff is, so I'm annoyed. And so I run comedy shows, and I run game shows. So this is a show called Never Explain, where I get people to be rude about science, and I run improvisation games where researchers can learn to be quicker and sharper and relate what they do quicker to people. And I support scientists to have weird ideas. My rule is that if you've got a really weird idea, I will underwrite it. So I will make sure that you're not going to lose money. And that led to my friend starting what we think is the world's first science drag and burlesque night. So she now has professional burlesque performers in Brighton working with scientists to develop sets, and scientists learning to do drag so that they can be part of this. And then I run training for scientists, and I pull all the scientists from the training into my programs. I'm quite good at training. I get feedback like this: well presented and interesting, which is unusual. Scientists leave really catty things to each other. And sometimes people hire me in to do something specific. So there was an Arts and Humanities Research Council funded project into the 8,000-year-long relationship between humans and chickens. And when they were launched, the UK papers were very rude about them. And they said, we know what the relationship is between humans and chickens. Humans eat chickens. Ha, 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 ha. And it's actually more complicated than that, because in the UK, right, 2,000 years ago, when Julius Caesar landed in Britain, first of all, he's not Julius Caesar then, he's just some guy called Julius. And he wrote a letter back to Rome, which said, British people are actually very stupid because there's chickens everywhere and they haven't worked out that they can eat them yet. And I know this because I was the comedian in residence on this research project. And I had to have essentially like a PhD tutorial with 8 different researchers from 8 different research fields, from forensic archaeology and science, and from critical theory relating to the way that Peter makes its adverts. I met people who study cockfighters. Not this, by the way, it's chickens fighting each other. And because cockfighting is still legal in one place in Europe, and it's absolutely hilarious. Anyway, so I do all of this stuff, and so I live in the grassroots, right? I live amongst the hackers and the weirdos and the researchers who are angry, and I try and lift them up, and then I make some of my money by being very serious, like with the Royal Society. But I love hackers, right? It's good to be here amongst hackers, because you need a hacking mindset, I find, right? So this, right? This something to things are designed by committee and people think they've sorted the whole thing out and it's fine. And this is it's like a grabby hand thing. You can buy them for £1 or $1 or €1. And the thing is, right, it's rubbish, because if you try and grab like that without a thumb, it doesn't grab. But what it needed was a hacker. And so I came along and I cut one piece of plastic and now it does this. It's really useful. So if you've got a really high fence and a very loud neighbor, you put it over the top and you just do that. And like, it's like a robot is flipping them off. How does a robot know? They can't fight back against the robot that's flipping them off. It's great. So that's what I do. So I'm really here to say to all of you, like, if you want help, if you want help being out there and connecting with people, and if you want somebody to do it who's like old enough and battered enough and well connected enough that I can provide a force field around you. This is what I do for early career researchers. They want to do something experimental, but their boss goes at them. So I go, well, hello, I'm Wellcome Trust Engagement Fellow, Steve Cross. You might know me from such million visitor exhibitions as this and this. You might love me. You might know me from the many millions of pounds that I've received from different people. So that's the thing. I'm here to support all of you. And you guys are doing amazing things, because most scientists I meet are, the number one thing they're thinking about is, how do I get paid 15% more? Whereas all of you are doing this amazing, like you actually, I came into the last session and people were actively talking about changing the world for the better. And I haven't heard a scientist talk like that for ages. I know science faculties that wanted to adopt the motto, change the world for the better, but then they realized that they had a number of weapons researchers who worked there. And the weapons researchers were like, that's really not what we do. So they just adopted the motto, change the world, and left it there. But you're doing these amazing things, so I want to help. Like, I want to help you do crazy, like, not crazy as an ableist slur, but crazy as in anyone else would look at it and go, what do we even do about this? I want to do, and that's what I'll do. Like, so I do online stuff now. I run online game shows and online events, and I write pub quizzes for PhD students.
I really don't want to interrupt you because this is incredible, but I'm getting pings saying time's up, so we're able to wrap up.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry, man. This is incredible.
No,
please.
This is my thing, right? You can look me up on the website or email me or anything, and I want to help you do weird stuff. Like, don't bring me boring stuff. Sorry, John, I didn't realize.
No, absolutely not.
I've got my timer running for 30, but it's 20.
I'm sorry, dude. That was incredible. Thank you so much. Can we all get some...
I apologize to everybody for overrunning. What a terribly rude thing to do. I only overrun because I thought it was 30. Don't
worry. That's my fault. Thanks, you.
No, it's my fault for not reading your emails.
I think we actually have 5 more minutes, right? Aren't we going till the half hour? Or are we not?
I was seeing 5 minutes.
Steve, take it away. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was getting let's go.
5 more minutes, Steve. You got this.
I
Bring
hate
it
this.
home.
I'm really sorry.
Well, I'll just answer any questions now. John, where are you based?
I'm in Newcastle in the UK
Right,
right
if
now.
any of you are based in Newcastle, go around John's house, kick the shit out of him. I will answer any questions about anything. I will answer all your science questions. I don't know the answers to them, but I'll answer them anyway. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Stick them in the chat thread. I like the people who are transcribing this. Kick the shit out of John, lol. Please tell me that goes in the permanent record of the whole conference. And it was agreed. Who's getting that action point? That's what I want to know. If that's an action point on the official minutes, who is going, have I ever got in big trouble? Asks, now that's a brilliant name. I can't even pronounce it. Sorry, I'm from Nottingham and rubbish. Have I got into big trouble? Yes, but not in big trouble that mattered. A science organization being mad at you, like, what are they going to do? A bunch of pale, underfed nerds who were like, I don't like that he said that our experiments have too many explosions. And this is the sort of thing that I do like, because so much science communication is, look, kids, explosions. But if you want to do chemistry isn't explosions, science isn't explosions. The army is explosions. If you want to blow things up, join the army. Ideally, the American army, because you'll get loads of choices to go anywhere and just blow stuff up at random based on whatever your government thinks that week. What was the other questions? Have I ever done something with biohackers as a theme of comedy? I haven't. I did have one of my shows, a performance artist came along and pretended to be a biohacker. He was incredible, but he pretended to be a biohacker who didn't have the complex statement of shared purpose and ethics that you have. So his set was all about, what would it be like if I made E. coli that ate oil? That's a great idea, isn't it? I'll make E. coli. And you could see the audience not knowing if this was real, because my audiences are quite sciencey and fact-based. And like, what? So no, I haven't done biohack stuff. Any more science questions? What's my website? Oh, by the way, I really enjoyed reading your statement of shared purpose. I'm still reading it. I think it's going to take me about a month to get through the whole thing. But that's nice that every one of you got to put in a word. All 8,000 of you got to write a word in your statement of shared purpose. I mean, it's no don't be evil, is it? But then don't be evil kind of went sideways a bit, didn't it? Don't be evil is now, we build robots for the military. What's the best thing we could do with our code of ethics? I love your code of ethics. Don't mess with it. I wish like academic scientists all had to have your code of ethics. Imagine if academic scientists had signed a thing that said, don't harass each other. It would be wonderful. What's the most wonderful thing you've seen in nature or science? It's just humans, really, because nature's just nature. I see a lot of people doing comedy sets where they're like, well, you can extrapolate from the behavior of penguins to people. No, you can't. People are just this weird. We've got culture and social construction, and social construction means we can build any old thing and say it's fine. Social construction is you watching this and thinking that looks very professional. These are 2 stage lights I bought for a pub that had no proper lights. This is a photography background. I'm literally in a shed, and the shed is at the bottom of a garden in a very unfashionable bit of London. What do non-scientist comedians think about your science comedy? They're jealous of my massive success and huge earnings because there's no money. I tell you what. Comedy audiences have no money. Science organizations have got money. If you want to be a comedian, be niche. Which science experiment have I enjoyed the most? I've got the whole bit to do that, but it's a 10-minute bit and I've got 1 minute, so I can't do that, but thank you. How can biohackers constructively explode the system? I'm not unsure about the concept of constructive explosion. Is an explosion by its very nature not like, just blow it up. Whatever's out there is not as good as what you're doing. You're nice. You've got a code of conduct and a statement of shared purposes. Just take it all over. Like, what you need is 20 of you need to retrain as assassins. Take out all of the difficult people in science and replace them with nice people from your community. By the way, if like the Patriot Act or whatever is watching this, that's a joke. That's what we in the comedy industry call a joke. It's when you say a thing that's not true, but it is a bit true, but it's not actually true. Any tips as a biocomedian to convince governments to be pro-science? The 20 assassins. That's the easy way to convince a government of anything. Oh, we've got 20 assassins. They already took out the people. Now, how do you convince science deniers? This is a serious question. You can't win them over. There's no argument you can do with a science denier. You have to do engagement. So what you do is you say, here is a community that being in it is actually way more fulfilling than what you're getting now. Like, I know you feel you get a sense of community from the flat earthers or the vaccine deniers, but come and join my community. We're even nicer. We have muffins, we have cakes. Our beliefs shift to fit the communities we want to be part of. That was a serious face. Right, I've got to finish now. It is 30 minutes.
Well,
John, do you want to cut me off again?
Steve, I actually think where you ended was so perfect, because your final two thoughts were 20 assassins, which I think we could probably pull in as a workshop later today, the assassin retraining workshop that we'll install, that you maybe can help lead later on this afternoon. We've got some spots open later for you if you're free.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Okay, but thank you for the suggestion. We can figure out how to adopt that into our program. And your concluding point, I think on a very serious note, is really beautiful, actually. I think so much of what this whole conference is about and what this community is about how to structure and build communities. And so I think your very real advice there actually rings very, very true and connects with the entire science communication track that'll be happening later this afternoon. So Steve, that was so epic. I had no idea what was going to happen once you got here, but man, that was really, really amazing. Can we all give some love for Steve Cross for bringing some comedy to BioSummit, and for appreciating our code of conduct and our very long 8,000 word statement of shared purpose. So thank you so much, Steve. And thank you to John Allen. And John, thanks so much for organizing this and making this happen. Okay,